Mastering the art of effective communication, the key to success and better relationships, is written and produced by Book Navigator. This audiobook is a Book Navigator production, and all rights are reserved by Book Navigator. Have you ever wondered why some people can easily get their point across, while others struggle to be heard, even when they explain themselves repeatedly? Do you wish people would actually listen when you speak, value your opinions, and build deeper, more meaningful relationships with you? Do you believe that effective communication can truly transform your personal and professional life? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, then this audiobook is made just for you. Hello and welcome. In this guide, we will explore the power of communication and learn how to use it effectively in our daily lives. Whether you want to strengthen your personal relationships, climb the ladder of success in your career, or simply become a better communicator, this book will show you the way. Imagine being the most influential person in a room full of people. Imagine your words leaving a lasting impression on hearts and minds. Imagine being able to express yourself with confidence in any conversation. That's exactly what you'll learn from this book. We will dive deep into the world of verbal and nonverbal communication, empathetic listening, and strategies to create meaningful connections. You'll discover how to enhance your body language, tone of voice, public speaking abilities, and digital communication skills. Each chapter includes practical advice and real-world examples to help you improve your communication skills step by step. You'll also hear inspiring stories of individuals who transformed their lives by mastering the art of communication. With expert tips and proven techniques, you'll be able to move closer to both personal fulfillment and professional success. This book is divided into 15 chapters, each designed to help you communicate with clarity, compassion, and confidence. So get ready, open your mind, and begin this journey that will offer you a whole new perspective on how to connect with the world around you. Now is the time to give power to your words. Now is the time to master your communication skills. Now is the time to elevate your relationships and your career to new heights. Let's unlock the secrets of effective communication and move forward on the path to success. Thank you, and let's begin this journey together. Chapter 1, Introduction. The power of effective communication. Do you ever feel like people don't truly understand what you're trying to say? Have you noticed how the way you communicate can impact both your personal and professional life? Would you like to express yourself clearly, confidently, and in a way that leaves a lasting impact? If your answer is yes, then this book is the perfect guide to help you transform your communication journey. I'll never forget the moment I first realized the true importance of effective communication. It didn't happen in a formal training session or while reading a self-help guide. It happened during a simple late-night conversation when my best friend shared something deeply personal with me. In that moment, I understood that good communication is not just about exchanging information, it's about creating a deeper connection with others. Think about it. Every important relationship you have is built on small conversational bricks. When you communicate in a clear, thoughtful, and genuine way, you create a space where others feel valued and understood. That's the foundation for strong personal bonds and professional growth. I used to be an introvert, especially in my first job. I hesitated to share my ideas during meetings, but over time, I noticed that the people who were growing and advancing weren't just smart. They had strong communication skills. They had learned how to express their thoughts clearly and confidently. That realization became a turning point for me. I made a decision to improve my communication skills, and once I started doing that, both my relationships and career opportunities began to improve. Communication isn't just crucial for your career, it plays a major role in your mental health and emotional well-being too. Have you ever felt isolated, like no one truly understands you? I've been there myself. But everything shifted when I joined a local support group and saw people openly sharing their feelings. That's when I realized that communication is more than just talking and listening, it's a form of healing. When we practice active listening and allow others to speak without judgment, we form deeper human connections. This is incredibly important for mental and emotional health. At one point, I used to think that just saying the right words was enough, but I kept experiencing misunderstandings and conflicts. I started observing how effective communicators truly engage with people, their active listening skills, their body language, and the tone of their voice. I adopted a few key strategies. I focused on active listening, worked on improving my body language, and developed empathy to better understand others' emotions. I vividly remember a moment at a cafe with my friend Mark. He was opening up about his personal problems while I was distracted checking my phone. Suddenly he stopped talking, and there was this awkward silence. I saw disappointment on his face. That's when it hit me. Just listening isn't enough. We need to be fully present. Once I started practicing active listening, my experience completely changed. I learned to maintain eye contact, repeat and summarize what the other person was saying, and give my full attention without distractions. As a result, my relationships became deeper and stronger than ever before. Communication can significantly improve both your relationships and your chances of success. When you adopt active listening and empathetic responses in your interactions with your partner, friends, or colleagues, your connections become more meaningful. In the workplace, clear and confident communication boosts your leadership skills and accelerates your growth. When it comes to mental health, expressing your feelings and genuinely listening to others can enhance emotional well-being. If you're ready to take your communication skills to the next level, improve your relationships, and grow both personally and professionally, then join me. Together, we'll unlock the secrets of effective communication and move toward a more connected, fulfilling, and successful life. Let's begin. Chapter 2. The Power of Body Language. The Impact of Non-Verbal Communication. When I first stepped into the world of public speaking, I believed that my words would be everything. But after experiencing a few awkward interactions and noticing the blank expressions on people's faces, I realized that body language plays a huge role. Communication isn't just about what is said. How it's said matters just as much. Your gestures, posture, and facial expressions can say more than your actual words. I remember a very important moment when I was addressing a small group. I had carefully crafted my message, but something still felt off. People weren't connecting. That's when I realized my crossed arms and tense posture were creating an invisible barrier. Once I began to speak more openly, maintained eye contact, and used open gestures, I noticed an immediate change. People looked more relaxed, their facial expressions softened, and they began to engage more. The impact of body language nonverbal signals can completely change the direction of a conversation. I once watched a heated debate between two intelligent and knowledgeable individuals. One of them remained calm, used controlled hand movements, and nodded attentively while making their point. This made them appear more credible. The other person kept interrupting, avoided eye contact, and had crossed arms, which came across as defensive and less convincing. That experience taught me that communication isn't just about speaking, it's also about reading what's left unsaid. Take humor, for instance. If someone tells a joke in a flat tone without expressions, it might fall flat. But the same joke delivered with a wink, playful tone, and animated facial expressions can have the whole room laughing. These subtle details in body language can make our conversations more memorable and engaging. Reading facial expressions. We often think communication is all about words, but that's not true. Have you ever heard someone say, "I'm fine," but their face told a completely different story? I once had a friend who told me she was okay, but her slightly sad eyes, faint frown lines on her forehead, and the downward curve of her lips said otherwise. These are non-verbal cues that give us a glimpse into someone's real emotions. Recognizing micro-expressions is a skill that can be developed with practice. Imagine you're presenting your ideas in a meeting and suddenly notice a colleague's face show a brief flicker of doubt. That micro-expression, even if it lasts just a second, can change the entire dynamic of the meeting. I used to think reading facial expressions was some kind of innate talent, but over time, I learned to simply observe without judgment. By noticing how someone's eyes move, whether their eyebrows lift, or if their jaw is tight or relaxed, you can pick up on these tiny cues. This awareness can make your communication more effective and emotionally connected. The role of tone and pitch. Have you ever felt more emotionally connected to how someone said something rather than what they said? Tone and pitch can completely shift the impact of a message. I remember when I used to get really angry as a child and my mum would calm me down using just her gentle and soothing tone. That's when I learned that how we say something can matter more than the actual words. Think about it. If a friend excitedly shares good news in a high-pitched, energetic voice, you instantly feel charged up too. On the other hand, if someone delivers bad news in a flat, monotone voice, it feels even more serious and heavy. In professional life, a confident tone builds credibility, while a hesitant or weak tone can make people doubt you. I recall a meeting where a manager announced an important policy change. His fast pace and high pitch conveyed the urgency of the situation. In contrast, during a crisis, a leader's calm and controlled tone can provide reassurance and build confidence within a team. The next time you're in an important conversation, be mindful of your tone and pitch. You can even record yourself to analyze your speech delivery and look for areas to improve. These small adjustments can elevate your communication skills and multiply the impact of your message. Communication isn't just a game of words, it's a complete art form. And the journey to mastering this art begins now. Chapter 3. The Art of Effective Communication with Empathy. Back in college, I had a classmate named Sarah who always knew just the right words to say in every conversation. One of our friends, Alex, was struggling with anxiety. Whenever he shared his problems, Sarah would listen with full attention, nodding gently and offering compassionate words like, "I can imagine how hard that must be for you." That was the first time I realized how empathy could deepen and transform a conversation. It's a kind of magic. When you genuinely understand someone's emotions and make them feel seen and supported, it creates a powerful connection. True empathy means stepping into someone else's shoes and feeling their emotions as if they were your own. It's not a forced reaction, but a natural human trait that allows us to connect deeply with others. Think about how comforting it feels when you're having a tough day and a friend says, "I get it, I've been there too." That simple exchange builds trust and emotional closeness, turning ordinary relationships into strong and meaningful ones. Empathy isn't just about what you say, it's also about how you say it. Words like, "That sounds really tough," or "I'm here for you," can be incredibly soothing. But tone plays a crucial role too. A soft, gentle tone makes your empathy more heartfelt, while a flat or harsh tone can make it seem forced or disinterested. Body language is another key way to express empathy. When someone is sharing something difficult and you lean in slightly, maintain eye contact, and nod occasionally, it sends a clear message. "I'm really listening and I value what you're saying." On the flip side, crossing your arms, looking away, or checking your phone can instantly break that emotional connection. Empathy can be practiced in everyday conversations. Whether a friend is venting about a personal problem or a colleague is stressed about work, take the time to listen without interrupting. Acknowledge their emotions, respond with compassion, and ensure your tone is warm. Your body language should also show that you're fully present in the moment. Understanding other perspectives. There have been many times when I had to pause and consider what the other person might be feeling. Seeing things from someone else's point of view isn't just a nice gesture. It's essential for building deeper relationships. I remember my friend Richard once told me about an argument he had with a co-worker over a project. Both believed their approach was right. Instead of letting the argument escalate, they decided to look at the situation from each other's perspective. Richard explained his colleague's view, and his colleague did the same for Richard. This exercise didn't just end the conflict. It led to mutual respect and a stronger working relationship. To develop the skill of understanding others' perspectives, we need to practice active listening. That means listening not just to reply, but to truly understand. Pay attention to their tone, choice of words, and body language. You can use phrases like, "So what you're saying is," to show you're genuinely engaged. This not only validates their emotions, but also helps you grasp their thought process on a deeper level. The art of empathetic listening, practicing empathetic and active listening, can fill our relationships with trust and emotional depth. I remember a time when a friend of mine was overwhelmed by stress from work and her personal life. All she needed was someone to truly listen. I simply sat with her, maintaining eye contact, nodding occasionally, and didn't interrupt. I didn't offer solutions. I just showed up emotionally and listened. That made her feel lighter and more at peace because she knew someone was there for her without judgment. This technique works wonders in professional settings too. One time, a colleague of mine was anxious about meeting a major project deadline. Instead of jumping in with advice, I acknowledged his stress and said, "I can see how this deadline is really stressful for you, and that totally makes sense." That simple validation calmed him down and made him feel understood. Similarly, when my partner opened up about a family issue that had been bothering him, I didn't try to fix it. I just responded empathetically, saying, "That really does sound tough. I can see how much it's affecting you." These little gestures can make a huge difference in personal relationships. Empathetic listening, choosing the right words, and understanding another's point of view are powerful communication skills that can transform how we connect with others. It's not something you master overnight, but with consistent practice, your communication will become more effective, genuine, and emotionally fulfilling. Chapter 4. Building deeper relationships, developing trust and mutual understanding. I clearly remember an experience that perfectly defined the importance of trust and rapport. It happened during a work project where we had a highly talented team, but one thing was missing: trust. Everyone was focused on their own tasks, but we weren't functioning as a cohesive team. As the project manager, I realized that without trust, we would never succeed. Building trust isn't an instant process. It demands patience and consistent effort. I started by encouraging open and honest communication. I shared my own challenges and setbacks openly so that my team members would feel safe enough to open up too. Slowly, as we began sharing personal and professional stories, our conversations grew deeper and more meaningful. This helped us understand one another and laid the foundation for genuine trust. As a result, our productivity improved, and so did our teamwork. A few strategies were especially effective in building trust. First and foremost was active listening. When we truly pay attention to someone and genuinely acknowledge their feelings, it helps them feel safe. During team meetings, I made it a point to really listen to every member and give importance to their suggestions. This helped everyone feel valued, and trust began to grow. Another important strategy was consistency and reliability. When we follow through on our commitments, people start depending on us. I always met my deadlines and offered help to my teammates when needed. Over time, they knew they could count on me, which significantly improved our overall performance. Transparent and respectful communication was also key. When we have to give feedback or engage in difficult conversations, honesty and compassion both play a vital role. I remember one of my team members was underperforming. Instead of criticizing him directly, I tried to understand his situation. This led to a positive discussion, and we worked together to find solutions, which not only improved performance, but also built trust. Empathy played a major role in developing trust as well. I always made an effort to care for my team's well-being, not just with work-related issues, but their personal lives too. During stressful periods, we'd take small breaks to talk casually. This showed my team that I valued them not just as co-workers but as people. Setting boundaries in communication. There was a time when I used to say yes to everything, and it led to overwhelming stress. Eventually, I realized that without setting boundaries, we drain our energy and lose our peace of mind. Initially, I thought setting boundaries was selfish, but over time I understood that it's actually a crucial form of self-care and self-respect. Just as important as setting boundaries is the way we communicate them. I remember having to explain a personal limit to a friend and feeling nervous about being misunderstood. But when I calmly and respectfully expressed myself, I saw empathy on their face. That's when I learned that when we assert our boundaries clearly, people understand and appreciate them. Boundaries aren't just for protecting ourselves, they also help us respect others. A colleague once needed uninterrupted work time. When I respected that need, our working relationship became even stronger. Maintaining boundaries enhances mutual respect and understanding. Resolving conflict with compassion. There was a time when a small disagreement with a friend began to impact our relationship. We were both too busy trying to prove our point, but then I consciously paused and really listened to what they had to say. That's when I realized they weren't trying to dismiss my perspective, they were simply expressing their own. This realization actually made our friendship stronger. The most important thing in resolving conflict is staying calm and open-minded. When we react impulsively in anger, we often say things we later regret. But if we can be patient and truly listen, conflicts can transform into meaningful conversations. Once, I unintentionally hurt a colleague's feelings. At first, I tried to brush it off, but later I approached them directly and asked how they felt. When they opened up, I understood my mistake and sincerely apologized. We then established a healthier way of communicating to avoid similar issues in the future. Empathy and active listening play a huge role in conflict resolution. When someone is sharing their thoughts, listen without interrupting. Use simple phrases like "I understand" or "that makes sense" to show them you're truly hearing them. When it's time to express your own feelings, use I statements like "I feel hurt" when, instead of saying "you always make me feel bad." This keeps the other person from getting defensive and encourages them to listen openly. By adopting these small strategies, we can transform conflicts into meaningful conversations and build stronger, more authentic relationships. Chapter 5. Communication in Personal Relationships. Let's first understand how communication works in romantic relationships. One of the biggest challenges in any romantic relationship is communicating effectively. Often we love deeply, but struggle to express our feelings in the right way, which leads to misunderstandings. Every person comes from a different background, has their own communication style, and unique emotional needs. That's why it's important to understand these differences and communicate accordingly. When my relationship began, I believed that simply talking was enough. But soon, I realized that communication isn't just about speaking, it's equally about listening. There were times we would talk for hours about an issue and still not reach a solution. I remember one argument about dinner plans that escalated quickly. We weren't listening to each other anymore, we were just trying to be heard. That's when I realized we needed to improve our communication. One approach that really helped strengthen our relationship was active listening. I learned to stop listening just to respond and instead listen to truly understand my partner's feelings. When he would talk about stress at work, I used to jump in with solutions right away. But later, I began to simply validate his emotions by saying things like, "I know this must be really tough for you." That small change made him feel heard and understood, which brought us closer together. It's also important to choose the right time to talk. If there's something serious to discuss, it should happen when both people are calm and free from distractions. We eventually set aside one day a week for a dedicated talk time where we focused just on each other. This practice really helped us address our issues peacefully and with more clarity. Communication is not a one-time lesson, it's an ongoing process. Sometimes we need to give each other space, and other times we need to express our feelings openly without fear. Using I statements is another effective technique. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," I would say, "I feel ignored when I'm not being heard." This shifts the conversation away from blame and makes it easier to have an open dialogue. Every relationship has its own dynamics, but one thing remains constant. When we prioritize communication and genuinely try to understand each other, our connection becomes stronger and more loving. Now let's move on to parent-child communication. As a parent, I've realized that my words, tone, and even body language deeply affect my child's thoughts and emotions. Kids don't just hear what we say, they notice how we say it. That's why open and honest communication is essential in parenting. One of the most important tools for improving communication with children is active listening. Once my child was trying to share a story with me, and I was distracted by my phone. I noticed the disappointment on his face. That moment made me realize he needed my full attention. From that day, I promised myself to remove all distractions whenever he talks to me and to listen with complete focus. Validating a child's emotions is just as important. One day my son came home from school feeling upset. Instead of offering a quick solution, I simply said, "Sounds like today was a tough day for you." That one sentence opened the door for him to share everything he was feeling. It reassured him that his emotions mattered and made him trust me more. I often share stories from my own childhood, how I made mistakes and what I learned from them. This helps my child understand that it's okay to mess up, as long as we learn from it. Positive reinforcement is also a great communication tool. When my child completed his homework on his own, I made sure to appreciate his effort. This boosted his confidence and made him more enthusiastic about his studies. Above all, communication with children should not just be about giving instructions. It should create a safe space where they feel free to express their feelings without fear of judgment. Now let's explore how to handle difficult conversations with family and friends. We've all experienced situations where some topics are just too difficult to talk about. Sometimes, to avoid conflict, we postpone important conversations, but doing that can weaken our relationships over time. So learning the art of managing tough conversations is essential. The first thing I learned was the importance of self-awareness. Before having a serious discussion, I try to understand my own emotions and triggers so I can respond wisely instead of reacting impulsively. Once, my brother and I got into a heated debate about politics. Initially, I was just focused on defending my point of view. But then I paused and listened to what he had to say. I tried to understand the experiences behind his perspective.
That moment shifted our conversation from an argument to a thoughtful discussion. Using I statements also helps a lot during tense moments. For example, instead of saying, "You always ignore me," I'd say, "I feel like my words aren't being taken seriously." This keeps the other person from becoming defensive and encourages a more constructive conversation. If emotions start to run high, setting some ground rules can help keep things respectful. These might include not interrupting, avoiding harsh language or tone, and taking a break if the conversation gets too intense. When my family sat down to discuss some financial issues, we made a rule beforehand that no one would point fingers and everyone would get a chance to speak. That made the entire conversation more peaceful and productive. Every relationship faces challenges, but if we handle communication with care and respect, even the most difficult conversations can lead to deeper understanding and stronger bonds.
Chapter 6: Effective Communication in the Workplace. Let's begin by understanding how to manage conflicts at work. When we think of workplace conflicts, we often imagine heated arguments, misunderstandings, or those uncomfortable moments of silence. But what if I told you that effective communication can turn these challenges into opportunities? A few years ago, I found myself repeatedly clashing with a coworker. We both had strong opinions and seemed to be operating on completely different wavelengths. The conflict not only impacted our productivity, but also brought down the morale of the entire team. I decided to start by identifying and addressing the communication gaps between us. We agreed to sit down and have an open, honest conversation. It wasn't easy at first. Emotions were running high and misunderstandings had piled up. But I made a conscious effort to focus on listening instead of preparing my rebuttals. We used I statements, like "I feel frustrated when deadlines aren't met," instead of "You never meet deadlines." That small shift changed the tone of our dialogue significantly. Over time, we weren't just resolving conflicts, we were building mutual respect. There are a few effective strategies to deal with workplace conflicts. One of the most important is creating a space where everyone feels safe to express their views without fear of judgment. I once had to confront a colleague who consistently missed deadlines which affected the entire team. Had I approached him aggressively, the situation might have escalated. Instead, I initiated a calm, one-on-one conversation where I not only voiced my concerns but also tried to understand why he was falling behind. Through that discussion, we discovered that uneven workload distribution was the real issue. Together, we implemented better time management strategies, which improved our overall team coordination. Building a positive work environment is deeply rooted in honest communication and trust. When people feel that their voices are heard and they're not being criticized, they perform with more confidence. I've learned that when workplace conflicts are addressed correctly, they can actually foster innovation and strengthen teamwork. So the next time you're facing conflict at work, try to see it as an opportunity. Approach it with sensitivity, an open mind, and effective communication. The art of persuasive communication. Have you ever tried to convince someone of your idea, only to find them stubbornly stuck in their own perspective? This is a common scenario at work, whether it's trying to get a teammate on board with your project plan or persuading your boss to approve a new strategy. Persuasive communication is an art that not only helps you get your point across, but also encourages others to align with your thinking. The first rule of persuasive communication is to listen. Often, we're so busy preparing our responses that we don't really hear what the other person is saying. But when someone feels genuinely heard, they become more open to what you have to say. How you present your ideas also matters. I once had to introduce a major change to my team, but many were resistant. Had I simply said, "We need to change our process," I would have faced more pushback. So instead, I framed it like this. Imagine how much more efficient we could be if we adopted this new approach. Presenting it this way made the team view the change more positively. It's also crucial to support your ideas with logic. When you present your argument backed by data and research, it becomes harder to refute. I recall a meeting where I had to defend my proposal, and by sharing clear statistics and evidence, I gained much stronger support. Emotional appeal can be equally powerful. If you connect your message on a human level, people are more likely to relate and respond. When I needed my team to adapt to a big change, I shared personal stories of how I had navigated similar challenges and what I had learned. This created a connection, and the team became more open to embracing the new direction. In summary, persuasive communication isn't just about facts and figures, it's about understanding people's emotions, thought processes, and perspectives, and choosing the right language to reach them. When you communicate with logic, empathy, and practical relevance, your message becomes far more compelling, creating a positive workplace environment. When I started my first job, the atmosphere felt stiff and intimidating. There was a lack of open communication, and at times, I felt isolated. This experience taught me how essential effective communication is in creating a positive work environment. When communication isn't clear, misunderstandings increase, and over time, the work culture becomes toxic. On the other hand, transparent, respectful, and open dialogue helps everyone feel seen, heard, and valued. Leaders play a crucial role in this. They need to actively listen and respond with empathy. When employees feel that their voices matter and their feedback is taken seriously, they become more motivated and engaged. Creating a psychologically safe workspace means encouraging people to speak up without fear of criticism or retaliation. It's also important to promote team collaboration. Encouraging the open exchange of ideas and feedback leads to better outcomes. Activities like team meetings, brainstorming sessions, and feedback forums help nurture a culture of collective growth. Recognition also plays a big role. Acknowledging achievements and celebrating contributions helps uplift the entire environment. I've observed that when team members respect and appreciate each other, it creates a positive energy that enhances everyone's performance. Ultimately, fostering effective communication doesn't just improve conversations, it transforms the workplace culture. Creating an environment where everyone feels valued and important leads not only to individual success, but also to a more cohesive and high-performing team. Chapter 7. Mastering Communication. Overcoming Barriers and Handling Misunderstandings. Misunderstandings often arise from a variety of causes and can significantly impact our relationships. A major reason behind them is the inability to clearly express thoughts and emotions. I remember once telling a friend during a tough time, "I understand what you're feeling." To me, it was a way of showing empathy, but my friend felt I was taking their struggle lightly. That experience taught me how vague expressions can easily be misinterpreted, especially when someone is emotionally vulnerable. Our personal thinking and background also contribute to misunderstandings. We all grow up with different experiences, cultural values, and beliefs, which naturally influence how we communicate. There were many times I assumed something was obvious, only to realize others didn't see it the same way. That's why it's essential to remember that our understanding and perspectives are not universal. Another common source of miscommunication is nonverbal communication, those unspoken signals. I once had an argument with a coworker who thought my silence during a discussion meant agreement, while in truth I was simply gathering my thoughts. Our body language, facial expressions, and even silence play a crucial role in communication, and when they don't align with our words, confusion is bound to occur. To avoid these kinds of misunderstandings, there are a few effective strategies we can adopt. One is to be clear and specific in how we express ourselves. Instead of saying, "I understand what you're feeling," it's more helpful to say, "I can imagine how difficult this time must be for you, and I'd really like to support you." This greatly reduces the chances of misinterpretation. While listening to someone else, it's important to ask clarifying questions to ensure understanding. Questions like, "Is this what you meant?" or "Am I getting this right?" can steer the conversation in the right direction and prevent confusion. Active listening is another powerful way to reduce misunderstandings. When we truly pay attention, maintain eye contact, and repeat or paraphrase what the other person has said, it shows we genuinely understand their message. This makes the conversation clearer and more effective. If a misunderstanding does occur, it's important to address it promptly. I recall a project meeting where things got out of hand due to lack of communication. I quickly spoke to each team member individually, apologized, and asked for their input on how we could move forward. It took some time, but it greatly improved the team's atmosphere. Apologizing when we're wrong, or even partially wrong, is a key step toward resolving issues. It shows humility and a willingness to mend the relationship. Additionally, it's important to create an environment that encourages open communication. Regular feedback and honest discussions help solve small problems before they grow into major issues. Cultural and language barriers. Communication plays a central role in our lives, but it becomes even more complex when different cultures and languages are involved. Have you ever said something simple, only to realize the other person didn't understand it the way you meant? I remember the first day of an international conference. While chatting with a colleague from Japan, I made a joke that seemed light-hearted to me, but it made him uncomfortable. Later, I found out that the topic was culturally sensitive from his perspective. That experience taught me the importance of cultural sensitivity. Gestures, facial expressions, and tone of voice can have very different meanings across cultures. For instance, while a thumbs up is seen as a positive gesture in many places, in some countries it's considered offensive. Understanding these subtle signals is crucial to avoiding confusion in cross-cultural conversations. Language barriers can also be a major challenge. When I first started working with a team from South America, I realized that the Spanish I had learned in school wasn't enough. I was often misunderstood and struggled to fully grasp what others were saying. Eventually, I invested time in improving my language skills, and not only did my communication improve, but my team appreciated the effort I put in. Cultural competence, the ability to understand and interact effectively with people from different cultures, opens doors to new perspectives and deeper understanding. It's not enough to just know what's right or wrong in another culture. It's also important to understand why certain things are perceived that way. For example, eye contact may be seen as respectful in some cultures and uncomfortable in others. When I began to reflect more deeply on these differences and asked questions, I developed greater empathy and adaptability. To overcome cultural and language barriers, it's essential to approach every conversation with an open mind and genuine curiosity. Seeing every interaction as an opportunity to learn and connect makes communication not just more effective, but also more enriching. Handling emotional barriers. We've all been in conversations where emotions take over, whether it's a heated argument or a serious discussion that suddenly hits a wall. Emotions can either be a bridge or a barrier in communication. When we're angry, our words tend to be more aggressive. When we're sad, our tone might soften, but carry heavy emotional weight. Understanding how emotions shape our communication makes us better communicators and listeners. To manage emotional barriers, we must first build self-awareness. Suppose a colleague constantly misses deadlines. It's natural to feel frustrated. But instead of reacting impulsively, taking a moment to calm down and then expressing concern in a composed way makes the conversation far more constructive. Using I statements helps express emotions without sounding accusatory. For example, saying, "I feel frustrated when deadlines aren't met because it affects our team's progress," is more effective than blaming. It allows the other person to understand your perspective without feeling attacked. Choosing the right time and setting is equally important. When emotions are running high, it's often better to delay the conversation until both parties are calmer and more open to a productive dialogue. Misunderstandings, cultural differences, and emotional barriers all pose challenges to effective communication. But with an open mind, empathy, and practical communication techniques, these obstacles can be overcome, leading to stronger relationships and a more successful personal and professional life. Chapter 8. Mastering Public Speaking. Preparing and organizing your speech. When I first started speaking in front of a group, I realized that preparation and organization were my biggest strengths. Think about it. When you stand in front of an audience feeling both nervous and excited, how do you handle it? I discovered that breaking down public speaking into smaller steps makes it much more manageable. First, understand your audience, their age, profession, interests, and the challenges they face. This turns your speech from a monologue into a conversation. Next, clearly define your core message. It's like planting a seed. Your entire speech will nurture and grow from that one key message. I've learned that using personal stories or anecdotes makes my speech more relatable and engaging. These aren't just fillers. They make your message emotionally resonant and tangibly impactful. Structuring your speech is just as essential. Think of it as a journey, with a starting point, a few necessary stops, and a destination. Your introduction should immediately grab attention, perhaps with a shocking fact or an interesting question. In the body, present your key points in a clear and logical manner, and make sure your conclusion powerfully reinforces your message. Visuals can elevate your speech if used effectively. Simple, bold images that support your message, not clutter your presentation, can create a stronger impact. I remember watching a speaker who used just one image per slide, but each image was so powerful that the audience connected instantly. Interaction with the audience is also vital. Eye contact, rhetorical questions, live polls, and encouraging public participation can transform your speech from a monologue into a lively conversation. I once asked my audience to share their own experiences, and the whole atmosphere turned into a space full of emotional connection and understanding. Rehearsing and practicing consistently will make you better each time. Public speaking isn't just a skill, it's one of the best ways to boost your confidence. Engaging the audience. When I stood up to give my first presentation, I realized that holding the audience's attention was the hardest part. It felt like juggling, not just throwing the balls, but catching them skillfully too. The opening sets the tone for the entire speech, so using a surprising fact, a powerful question, or a captivating visual right at the start is crucial. Eye contact is an underrated yet highly effective tool. When I speak while looking into people's eyes, it feels like a one-on-one connection, which draws them in and makes them more involved. Proper use of pauses is equally important. Silence, when used effectively, can sometimes deliver the strongest message. Storytelling is perhaps the most powerful tool a speaker can have. I remember once sharing a story about my own failure and the lessons I learned from it. Not only did it engage the audience, but it also gave them practical takeaways. Humor can be another great tool, as long as it's balanced. Light, harmless jokes can make the environment more relaxed and friendly. Additionally, open-ended questions can encourage interaction and keep the audience mentally engaged. Interactive elements like live polls, hands-on activities, and demonstrations can make your speech more fun and dynamic. I once added a live poll to my speech, and it instantly made the atmosphere more lively and involving. Using visual aids correctly is very important too. Your slides should have minimal text and more visuals to make your message more impactful. And don't forget to test your technology beforehand. Technical issues can completely derail a good speech. Overcoming public speaking anxiety. I still remember the first time I stood in front of a crowd. My heart was pounding, my palms were sweaty, and my mind went blank. This doesn't just happen to me. Many people go through the same thing. The fear of being judged, lack of self-confidence, or past negative experiences are some of the biggest reasons behind public speaking anxiety. It's not just mental, it brings physical effects too, like shortness of breath, shaky hands, and a trembling voice. Techniques like deep breathing and visualization helped me a lot. Before stepping on stage, I take a few deep breaths, which really calms my nerves. I also learned that imagining myself having a successful speaking moment increases my confidence. One life-changing strategy for me was to start with small speaking opportunities. I began speaking in front of small groups and gradually moved on to larger audiences. This approach helped desensitize my fear over time and made me more comfortable. A shift in mindset was also essential. When I stopped thinking about how people would judge me and started focusing on what value I could deliver to them, my public speaking improved dramatically. A practical tip I followed was to connect with one person in the audience. Making eye contact and sharing a smile created a friendly atmosphere and gave me a confidence boost. Every time I speak, I grow a little more. And you can too, with practice, preparation, and a positive mindset. Public speaking can become not just easier, but a powerful tool to express yourself and inspire others. Chapter 9. The Impact of Digital Communication. Social media and email etiquette. Communicating through social media has felt like an emotional roller coaster to me. It's like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it offers the incredible opportunity to connect with people around the world in real time and build communities. On the other hand, that same speed can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, and stress. I remember once posting a comment in a light-hearted way, but it was misunderstood, and things escalated to a series of negative comments. That experience taught me how crucial clarity and empathy are when communicating on social media. Social media can be a great platform for personal branding and professional networking, but it also comes with risks like cyberbullying, privacy breaches, and account hacking. A friend of mine once had his account hacked, and the hacker posted inappropriate content that affected his reputation. However, when used mindfully, social media can amplify public voices and become a powerful tool for positive change. To use social media effectively and responsibly, there are a few strategies that have helped me. First, setting boundaries is key. I follow a personal rule: not to scroll through social media right after waking up or right before bed. This habit helps maintain my mental health and allows me to start and end the day on a positive note. Second, curating content is essential. I've made it a point to only follow accounts that inspire and educate me. That way, social media becomes a source of motivation and learning instead of distraction or negativity. In professional life, maintaining a consistent and authentic voice is important. I once shared a story about a failure in my career, and it was well received because it felt real and relatable. That taught me the importance of staying genuine online. Engaging responsibly is another critical practice. Before liking, sharing, or commenting on anything, I pause to verify the credibility of the source. A mentor once told me, "Your digital footprint will always remain. Let it reflect your best self." That advice has become one of my guiding principles. Understanding professional email etiquette is equally important in today's digital world. I still remember reading an email filled with complicated words and confusing structure. It was incredibly frustrating. That's when I realized the value of clean, direct communication. Before writing any email, I always ask myself, what's the purpose? Am I sharing information, asking a question, or solving a problem? Once the purpose is clear, the email naturally becomes more effective. I break my emails into 3 parts. 1. Introduction, where I state the topic clearly. 2. Body, where I explain the details. 3. Conclusion, where I mention the next steps or call to action. I once sent a long and unstructured email that caused a lot of confusion and required several follow-ups to clarify. That experience taught me the importance of brevity and clarity. Tone also plays a significant role. I once emailed a senior executive using an overly casual tone, which didn't come off as professional. Since then, I always adjust my tone based on the recipient. Etiquette matters too, addressing the recipient by name, using polite phrases like please and thank you, and proofreading before hitting send all contribute to a strong professional impression. Technology has made communication easier than ever. I still remember the first time I spoke to my childhood friend over a video call while he was living abroad. It felt like we were sitting at the same table sipping coffee. Tools like Zoom, Skype, and FaceTime have helped bridge the distance. In the workplace, platforms like Slack and Microsoft Teams have revolutionized how teams communicate. I was once involved in a large project where Slack helped our team share information without endless email threads. It felt like we were all in the same room, even though we were in different countries. But using these tools correctly is vital. Our team established a quiet hours rule, certain times when no notifications would be sent, so everyone could have personal downtime without disruptions. One great addition to our workflow was the virtual whiteboard. It allowed everyone to contribute ideas simultaneously during meetings, making the sessions more inclusive and productive. The world of digital communication is evolving rapidly, and it's crucial that we use it wisely. Through social media, email, and technology, we can enhance both our personal and professional lives. But that requires clarity, empathy, and responsible usage. If we keep those principles in mind, digital platforms can truly become a positive and powerful tool for growth and connection. Chapter 10. Communication for Personal Growth. Using effective communication to define and achieve personal goals has been a transformative experience for me. I've realized that when we articulate our goals in words, they take on a tangible form. It's far more powerful to express an idea clearly than to keep it vague in our minds. Don't you feel that when you share your dreams or ambitions with someone, they suddenly start to feel more real? Communication has this unique power to turn abstract ideas into solid, achievable goals. Sharing goals with others has another major benefit. It not only gives our ambitions a sense of reality, but it also builds a network of support and accountability. I've found that when I tell someone about a goal, I feel a slight pressure to follow through, especially when the person can give valuable feedback or even join me on that journey. For instance, if you tell a friend that you're planning to run a marathon, their encouragement can boost your motivation, and their occasional check-ins can help keep you on track. For me, the 3 most important aspects of effective communication in this context are clarity, motivation, and accountability. Clarity is crucial because when we define our goals clearly, they become more concrete. Saying I want to be healthy is vague, but saying I will exercise for 30 minutes every morning turns that goal into a practical plan. Likewise, motivation plays a vital role, and it's heavily influenced by the language we use. When we express our goals as if they are already in motion, it builds confidence and enthusiasm. For example, instead of saying, "I will try to get fit," saying, "I'm getting fitter every day," is far more empowering. Accountability might seem intimidating at first, but it's essential for growth. When I've shared my plans and deadlines with a friend or mentor, I found myself taking my commitments more seriously. During times when my motivation dipped, just knowing someone might ask about my progress gave me the push I needed to stay on course. In short, by using clarity, motivational language, and a system of accountability, we can turn our goals into reality. Share your dreams, voice your goals, and build the life you want, one intentional word at a time. Building confidence. Through communication, words have immense power. They are the foundation of our communication and play a critical role in shaping our inner beliefs. I remember times when I lacked confidence and negative thoughts kept swirling in my mind, chipping away at my self-esteem. But when someone explained to me how I was communicating with myself, I began to understand how deeply words affect our self-confidence. I started replacing negative self-talk with positive thoughts, and over time, both my mindset and confidence began to shift. I recall preparing to give a presentation in front of a senior team at my office. I was incredibly nervous, but I took a moment to speak to myself with determination and belief. "You're prepared. You've done this before, and you can handle this well." Just thinking that helped calm my nerves. And when I spoke with clarity and confidence, not only did my colleagues perceive me as self-assured, but it also strengthened my own belief in myself. One of the most effective ways to develop self-confidence is through assertive communication. Assertiveness doesn't mean being aggressive or overbearing. It means giving your thoughts and voice equal value to those of others. There's no shortcut to overcoming self-doubt, but every small step counts. For example, instead of saying, "I can't do this," say, "I'm learning, and that's okay." This subtle shift in language can make a big difference in how we think and feel. If you're ever hesitant about learning something new, build the habit of telling yourself, "I am capable of learning new things." These small positive changes can slowly transform your entire mindset. Remind yourself of moments when you showed courage or handled a tough situation well, and let those memories fuel your confidence today. The power of positive affirmations. Communication plays a vital role in our social, personal, and professional lives, but its impact goes far beyond just the content of our words. Think back to a time when you spoke uplifting words to a friend or family member. Did you notice their smile or the renewed confidence on their face? That's the power of affirmation. Positive affirmations can transform not only our mindset, but also the energy we pass on to those around us. I experienced this firsthand during a challenging phase in my career. I kept telling myself, "I'm capable of facing challenges, and every step is leading me towards success." These words didn't just shift my thinking, they influenced my actions. Each day I felt more confident, more focused, and more resilient. If you want to make positive affirmations a part of your life, here are a few simple techniques. 1. Start small. Say something uplifting to yourself in the morning, like, "Today is going to be a good day," or "I can handle whatever comes my way." 2. Be specific and clear. While saying, "I am capable" is good, saying, "I can handle today's challenges" makes it more powerful and actionable. 3. Use visualization. As you repeat your affirmation, visualize yourself achieving that goal in detail. See it, feel it, believe it. 4. Write them down. Post your affirmations on your mirror, in your notebook, or on your laptop screen so you see them often and stay reminded of your intent. Words hold power, but repetition makes them real. When we consistently use positive affirmations, they become a part of our reality. Fill your communication with optimism and determination, and watch your confidence reach new heights. Chapter 11. Repairing broken communication for stronger relationships. I vividly remember the time when our communication had completely broken down. It felt like I was trying to find my way in the dark, no solutions in sight, and I had no idea how to fix things. During that phase, trust felt like a distant and impossible dream. But the truth is, Trust isn't lost in a single moment, and it can't be rebuilt in one either. The first step was acknowledging the damage, that both sides had been hurt. This acceptance was crucial because both of us were feeling vulnerable and defensive. But embracing that vulnerability was exactly what began the healing process. We started setting small, achievable goals. Transparency became the foundation of our efforts. We committed to being honest with our feelings, even when they were uncomfortable to express. It wasn't easy. I had to set aside my pride and open up about my true emotions rather than hiding behind anger or indifference. Gradually, those small steps added up, and we began to rebuild the trust that had been broken. Transparency, honesty, and accountability played major roles in that process. We acknowledged our past mistakes, but not to blame each other. Instead, we used them as stepping stones toward better understanding. That meant truly listening to one another without interrupting or reacting defensively. At times, it felt like we were walking on eggshells, but those sensitive moments actually deepened our mutual understanding. Whenever I felt myself getting defensive, I reminded myself that this wasn't about winning or losing, it was about nurturing mutual respect and emotional clarity. We adopted several effective communication techniques that helped us reconnect. First, we learned the importance of timing. Discussing sensitive issues only when both of us were calm significantly reduced misunderstandings. Another key technique was reflective listening, where we would repeat what the other person had said in our own words to ensure we truly understood their point. This minimized confusion and strengthened empathy. Additionally, we replaced you statements, like you always ignore me, with I statements, like I feel ignored when my calls go unanswered. It was a small shift, but a powerful one. It made it easier to express feelings without placing blame, which created space for open and respectful dialogue. Apologizing and forgiving. There was a time when a misunderstanding created distance between me and my best friend. I had said something jokingly that unintentionally hurt him. The atmosphere between us turned tense and awkward. I quickly realized that a simple sorry wasn't going to fix it. I needed to understand the real meaning of apology and forgiveness. Looking at his face, I could see that it wasn't about the words. It was about showing him that I genuinely understood his pain and truly regretted what I had said. An apology shouldn't just be a formality, it must be sincere. It means more than just saying, "I'm sorry." It requires owning your mistake, understanding its impact, and showing a clear intention to improve. Forgiveness isn't just about letting the other person off the hook. It's also about freeing yourself from guilt. When my friend forgave me, it wasn't just a relief for me. It was a liberating moment for our friendship. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it opens the door to rebuild trust. I learned that the first step toward a genuine apology is empathy. I tried to understand his perspective and made sure not to offer excuses. I said, "I can see that what I said hurt you, and I truly wish I could take it back." This kind of compassionate communication helped bridge the emotional distance between us. Forgiveness isn't only about receiving it, it's also about self-forgiveness. I first had to forgive myself, which eased my guilt and allowed me to better understand and honor my friend's feelings. Reconnecting with estranged relationships. When we feel estranged from someone we once held dear, effective communication becomes the strongest bridge to reconciliation. I learned this firsthand when I realized that distance and misunderstandings had created a gap between me and my siblings. The first step was initiating an open and honest conversation. I took time to write a heartfelt message, expressing not only my desire to reconnect but also acknowledging the past misunderstandings. Active listening played a key role in this process. When I met one of my cousins after years apart, I made sure to listen to him without interrupting. That simple act made him feel heard and understood, something that is fundamental to healing any relationship. Writing letters can also be a powerful tool, especially when face-to-face conversations feel too emotionally overwhelming. I once wrote a letter to my father after many years of silence, and that single gesture opened the door for us to reconnect. Consistency was also crucial. My brother and I started with small, casual outings, just coffee or walks, and slowly began rebuilding our bond. If you're trying to reconnect with someone you've grown apart from, approach it with patience, empathy, open communication, and mutual respect. The journey may not be easy, but the joy of reuniting with someone you love is truly priceless. Chapter 12. Mastering the Art of Listening. Techniques of Active Listening. When I think about all the conversations I've had in my life, one truth stands out the most. Being fully present can completely transform any interaction, but doing so isn't always easy. I used to nod my head while someone was talking, but my mind would be somewhere else, either making a grocery list or thinking about what to watch on Netflix. Then one day, during a deep conversation with an old friend, I realized how important active listening really is. When he said it felt good to have me truly present, I decided to make it a habit. One technique that completely changed the way I listen is summarizing. When someone speaks, I try to repeat what they said in my own words, not like a robot, but in a natural way. For example, "That must have been really tough for you." This not only shows that I was paying attention, but also helps prevent misunderstandings. Once, a colleague was sharing her struggles with a challenging project. When I reflected her thoughts back to her, we discovered a hidden issue that we were then able to resolve together. Another powerful tool is empathy. When we put ourselves in someone else's shoes, we connect with them on a deeper level. I remember when a friend opened up about losing his parents. Instead of just saying a formal, "I'm sorry," I genuinely tried to feel what he was going through. That experience taught me more than any book ever could. Distractions are the biggest enemies of active listening. I used to struggle with the habit of constantly checking my phone during conversations. To stop this, I started practicing mindfulness. Before a conversation, I take a few deep breaths and remind myself that this moment matters. It really helped me focus. I also found that maintaining good eye contact and nodding in agreement makes the conversation more impactful. A game-changing strategy I adopted is asking active questions. When someone is speaking, I try to ask open-ended questions like, "What was the highlight of your day?" Or, "What did you find most challenging today?" Questions like these lead to deeper, more meaningful conversations. Another important lesson I've learned is making time for conversations. Nowadays, we're so caught up in multitasking that it becomes hard to truly focus on someone. I realized that good conversations require undivided attention. When I began setting aside special time to talk with my family and friends, the quality of our conversations improved significantly. Remember, the most valuable thing we can offer in any conversation is our full attention. So the next time you talk to someone, truly listen, feel, and connect. Not only will the other person feel seen and heard, but you'll also walk away feeling more fulfilled. The art of reflection and paraphrasing. I used to think I was a good listener. I nodded, made eye contact, and said from time to time. But one day someone repeated my own words back to me, and I realized how much reflection and paraphrasing can elevate communication to a whole new level. Reflection means mirroring the other person's thoughts and emotions, like holding up a mirror to their inner world. This not only shows that we understand them, but also clears up any possible misunderstandings. Paraphrasing, on the other hand, means repeating what was said using our own words. I remember when a friend was feeling overwhelmed about his career. Instead of offering advice, I reflected back his concerns by saying, "It sounds like the pressure at work is making you question your abilities." Hearing that, he let out a sigh of relief and said, "Yes, that's exactly how I feel." That moment made me realize that people often don't want advice. They just want to feel understood. The intention behind our listening matters the most. We should try to understand not just the words, but the emotions behind them. If someone is angry, we could say, "You seem really frustrated because things aren't going the way you hoped." That opens the door for them to express themselves more freely. When we use reflection and paraphrasing, we don't just become better listeners, we create a space where people feel safe to express themselves. This technique is incredibly useful in both personal and professional life. Becoming an empathetic listener. The true power of listening hit me when I was on a crowded metro train. People around me looked exhausted, even without saying a word. That's when I realized how often we hear words but fail to truly listen to the people behind them. Empathetic listening means not just hearing the words, but also tuning in to the emotions behind them. When someone shares a problem, we should try to imagine what it's like to be in their shoes. Once, a friend shared some personal struggles with me. I put my phone aside, gave him my complete attention, and immediately noticed how comfortable he became. That moment made me realize that even just listening attentively can be a powerful source of support. The next step is recognizing emotions and responding appropriately. When someone is angry, we shouldn't just focus on their words. We should look deeper to see if there's fear, sadness, or frustration behind them. Creating a safe space is also essential. People only open up when they feel comfortable. Sometimes just silently sitting beside someone and letting them know you're there can be the best form of support. Remember, empathetic listening is a skill, one that can be developed over time. If you make it a habit, not only will your relationships grow stronger, but you'll also feel more fulfilled. So the next time someone talks to you, just listen, feel, and be fully present. It might be the most valuable gift you can give. Chapter 13. Achieving Success Through Communication. Negotiation and Persuasive Communication Skills. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you needed to get something done, but bringing everyone onto the same page felt almost impossible? Whether it's in the workplace, during a family discussion, or even trying to decide where to go for dinner with friends, I've been in all of these situations. What I've realized over time is that through effective communication, by embracing the art of negotiation and persuasive dialogue, such challenges can be overcome smoothly. There was a time when I was working on a team project that required input and ideas from everyone involved. Naturally, people had different priorities and opinions, and it reached a point where it felt like consensus was out of reach. That's when I learned that simply presenting facts and hoping others would agree isn't enough. I began practicing active listening, truly understanding and acknowledging each team member's concerns. That helped me shape my suggestions in a way that connected with them. Without forcing my ideas, I asked open-ended questions that encouraged others to explore possibilities themselves. This approach not only reduced friction, but also built mutual respect and a spirit of collaboration. To reach a win-win solution, compromise alone isn't enough. It's about finding a way forward that benefits everyone. I recall a negotiation with a client where we disagreed on certain contract terms. Initially, the discussion was tense, with both sides firmly holding their ground. I decided to shift my approach, first by genuinely understanding their perspective and validating their concerns. I also honestly shared the limitations from my side. This transparency laid a foundation of trust, turning our heated exchange into a cooperative dialogue. Eventually, we found a creative solution that worked for both of us. It wasn't about a 50-50 split. It was about meeting the real needs on both sides. One of the most powerful strategies for successful negotiation is preparation. It's not enough to understand your own needs. You also need to be aware of the other party's interests and potential constraints. When you enter a discussion with knowledge and empathy, your communication becomes more impactful and meaningful. The result isn't just a one-time agreement, but long-lasting positive relationships, networking, and building connections. I still remember the first time I attended a networking event. The moment I walked in, I felt completely out of place. People were chatting all around me, and I stood there wondering how to even start a conversation. That's when I realized that networking isn't just about exchanging business cards, it's about creating genuine connections. The magic happens when we find common ground with others. Sometimes it's as simple as offering a sincere compliment or discussing a recent trend in the industry. These small, authentic moments can lay the foundation for long-lasting relationships. Over time, I learned that being present at events isn't enough. You have to show genuine interest in people. When you ask thoughtful questions and listen attentively, you create a safe space where real collaboration can thrive. One strategy I found especially effective is following up. Whenever I meet someone at an event, I send a simple follow-up email highlighting a key point from our conversation. It shows that I truly valued the interaction and that it wasn't just a formality. This small gesture has helped me strengthen many contacts and unlock new opportunities. Networking doesn't mean attending every event and trying to connect with everyone. Here, quality matters more than quantity. Focus on building a few deep and meaningful connections rather than many shallow ones. Look for people who share your values and inspire you. I once met someone over a casual coffee conversation, and as we talked, we realized that our skills complemented each other. That meeting led to a collaboration on a project that benefited both of our careers. Sometimes the best connections are formed when you least expect them, so always be open to meeting new people and welcoming new opportunities. The role of communication in effective leadership. As a leader, there are moments when your ability to communicate can make all the difference in how you inspire and guide your team. Imagine a crisis at your workplace. Team morale is dropping and uncertainty is looming. In such situations, the power of effective communication truly shines. I remember a time when our team faced an unexpected delay in a critical project. Tension was high, and everyone was looking to me for direction. Instead of panicking, I took a deep breath, composed my thoughts, and carefully chose my words. I delivered a clear and concise message, while also making sure that my team felt heard and understood. That experience taught me that leadership communication isn't just about talking. It's about creating connection. It's more than sharing your vision. It's also about active listening. When I encouraged my team to share their thoughts and feelings through open-ended questions, we were able to find practical solutions together. I also noticed that when people feel heard and valued, they become more motivated and cooperative. Effective leadership communication is built on 3 core elements. 1. Empathy. Communicating with empathy means understanding others' situations and acknowledging their emotions. For instance, one of my colleagues once became overwhelmed with a heavy workload. Instead of jumping to conclusions or offering quick fixes, I first listened to his concerns. That conversation not only resolved the issue, but also strengthened our professional relationship. 2. Transparency. When tough decisions need to be made, explaining your thought process and the reasons behind your choices helps eliminate misunderstandings. During a period of budget cuts, I was upfront with my team about why the decision was made and what priorities were considered. This openness built trust and reduced resistance. 3. Inspiration. A leader's words can ignite passion and drive in their team. I remember during a project kickoff meeting, I painted an exciting picture of how the project could move us forward. I shared personal stories and future possibilities to make everyone feel like they were part of something important. That message boosted the team's energy and commitment right away. Effective communication is the foundation of every great leader. It has the power to build trust, align teams, and inspire action. The next time you're leading a conversation, remember, listening is just as important as speaking. Be transparent in your intentions and use inspiring stories to connect with your audience. Every day, our words either build bridges or create walls. If we learn to use negotiation, persuasion, networking, and leadership communication wisely, we not only achieve success in our personal and professional lives, but also cultivate meaningful relationships. So, the next time you're in a conversation, ask yourself, did your words build a bridge today, or did they build a wall? Chapter 14. Communication in times of stress. Staying calm and composed in tense situations. When the storm clouds of stress gather over our heads, it often feels like they will completely sweep us away. Each one of us has our own challenges, tight work deadlines, family crises, or unexpected events that completely derail our plans. In such moments, our ability to communicate effectively and remain composed becomes our greatest asset. Through personal experience, I've learned that developing effective communication strategies during a crisis begins with understanding our own reactions. Have you ever noticed how your breathing gets faster or your voice becomes tense when you're under stress, and you don't even realize it? Awareness is the first step. Mastering the art of grounding yourself can work wonders. I remember one morning when I was suddenly faced with a flood of urgent emails and I felt overwhelmed. But I took a few seconds to focus on my breathing. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. This tiny habit shifted my entire approach. I started replying to each email calmly, with clarity and thoughtfulness. As we grow in awareness, the next important element is emotion management. During stressful moments, emotions can become incredibly intense and unpredictable. Have you ever felt so angry or afraid that you couldn't think straight? I've been there too, and it's a natural human response. But the key lies in learning to regulate our emotions so they don't overpower us. Think of it like a pot of boiling water. If left unattended, it can overflow and cause damage. But if we manage the heat, it remains useful. Similarly, techniques like mindfulness and perspective-taking can be life-changing. There was a time when a misunderstanding occurred between me and a colleague. I took a moment to pause and genuinely tried to understand their point of view. It wasn't easy, but that small effort to see things from their perspective melted away my frustration and turned the conversation into a constructive dialogue. When we're stressed, seeing things clearly can be difficult, but sometimes even a single moment of empathy can change the entire situation. When life becomes a pressure cooker and starts releasing steam, the most important thing is to focus on constructive solutions. Often, our initial reactions come from stress, not from rational thought. To handle such situations, I've developed a strategy that puts clarity and cooperation above conflict. For example, once our team was under immense pressure due to a tight project deadline. Everyone was scattered and overwhelmed, so we held a meeting, listed all the tasks, set priorities, assigned responsibilities based on everyone's strengths, and broke the project down into mini deadlines. This collaborative approach not only lightened the workload, but also boosted our team spirit. Solutions that come from teamwork are more sustainable and reduce stress significantly. So the next time you find yourself in a stressful situation, ground yourself with your breath, balance your emotions through mindfulness, and prioritize collaborative solutions. These small shifts can make a big impact, transforming chaos into a growth opportunity. Empathetic communication during crisis. Now let's understand how empathy and compassion are critical for effective communication during a crisis. I remember once when a major system failure at work affected thousands of users. Everyone was under immense pressure, running around trying to fix things. During this time, I realized that straightforward communication wasn't enough. When someone recognized my stress and frustration and said, "I can imagine how tough this must be for you," I felt a little comforted. It wasn't about solving the problem immediately, it was about connecting on a human level. In a crisis, emotions are at their peak, and rationality often takes a back seat. In such moments, empathetic conversations can create emotional bonds. It's not just about understanding the problem, but also recognizing how someone feels and responding with kindness. This kind of connection can make communication more effective and ease the burden of stress. Supporting someone in challenging circumstances requires specific techniques. I recall when a friend of mine was going through a deeply personal crisis. Instead of jumping in with solutions, I just listened intently. I nodded, repeated their words back to them, and simply said, "It's okay to feel this way." These words offered emotional validation. Offering reassurance during a crisis doesn't always mean saying, "Everything will be fine." Sometimes it simply means showing, "I'm here with you." Creating a supportive environment depends on what the other person needs at that moment. Sometimes, people just need a shoulder to cry on, and other times, they need practical help. Once, when a colleague was under extreme stress, I took over a few of their simple responsibilities. It gave them the space to focus on more critical tasks. Emotional support isn't only shown through words, it can be conveyed through actions too. I remember going through a difficult time myself, and a colleague brought me coffee with a small note that read, "I'm here whenever you need." That small gesture made me feel truly cared for. When offering support to someone in distress, it's not about having all the right answers. What matters most is being present, listening with your heart, and showing kindness through small, genuine acts. These little things often make the biggest difference. So the next time someone reaches out to you in a moment of need, just be real, listen attentively, and show through your actions that you care, because it's those little things that mean the most. Chapter 15. The Power of Storytelling in Communication. Crafting compelling stories. In the realm of storytelling, every word can either build a bridge to the listener's heart or cause their interest to fade away. I first realized the power of storytelling while having dinner with friends. Instead of simply recounting the events of my day, I narrated them with emotional depth and a sense of drama. I saw their faces light up with curiosity. What was once an ordinary experience turned into a captivating tale. The foundation of an effective story lies in its structure. Think of a story as a journey, starting strong, passing through meaningful turning points, and arriving at a powerful climax. Always begin with an engaging hook that grabs the listener's attention instantly. When I share personal stories, I often start with an intriguing fact or an unusual situation that makes the audience eager to hear what happens next. Creating emotional connection. As a child, I adored the stories my grandfather told. They weren't just a collection of words, they conveyed experiences, emotions, and values. Stories have the power to take us beyond time and space and make us feel things we've never felt before. That's why storytelling helps foster connection and empathy between people. I've found that when a story is told from the heart, it can bridge any social or cultural gap. Authenticity is key to expressing emotions effectively. Once, I shared a personal story of failure that later turned into success, and I noticed that the audience wasn't just listening, they were feeling it with me. The honesty and openness created a deep emotional bond. Vivid imagery, dialogue, and sensory details make a story impactful. When we paint pictures with words, people can see through our eyes and feel through our hearts. Using storytelling to influence and inspire storytelling isn't just about words. It's a powerful tool to evoke emotions, trigger memories, and inspire action. When we share our struggles and triumphs, it can ignite motivation in others. Often, it's not just what the story is about, but how it's told that makes all the difference. When people feel our sincerity and understand our perspective, they're more deeply moved. Storytelling is widely used across various fields as an effective strategy. In marketing, instead of merely listing features of a product or service, brands weave stories around them to create emotional connections with potential customers. For instance, insurance companies often share stories of families recovering from crises. These stories simplify complex concepts and make them real and relatable. In leadership, storytelling can be the best way to unite a team and inspire them toward a shared goal. When a leader shares experiences and vision in the form of a compelling story, it motivates team members to see themselves as part of a meaningful journey. In personal development, sharing stories of failure and growth doesn't just build our confidence, it also inspires others to take action. To tell an effective story, it's essential to understand its emotional core. Does it evoke hope, courage, or fear? When I share my stories, I strive to do so with full honesty and an open heart, because truth always resonates the most. People can tell when a story is real or fabricated, and authenticity fosters the strongest connection. To make a story both personal and universal, balance is key. Specific details make the story come alive, while broader themes make it relatable to everyone. When this balance is achieved, stories don't just capture attention, they inspire transformation. The art of communication. a key to relationships and success. Throughout this audiobook, we explored the crucial elements of effective communication, the power of listening, the nuances of nonverbal cues, and the art of empathetic dialogue. We delved into the complexities of personal and professional relationships and discussed how to overcome communication barriers. Remember, effective communication is a lifelong skill, refined through practice and awareness. By applying the insights and techniques shared in this book, you can become a more skilled and emotionally intelligent communicator. Whether your goal is to strengthen relationships, navigate workplace dynamics, or pursue personal growth, these tools will support you. Learn how the power of empathy, the clarity of thoughtful speech, and the strength of genuine connection can enrich your life. As you embrace these skills, you'll find that effective communication not only deepens your relationships, but also opens the door to new opportunities. Thank you for listening to this audiobook. I hope your communication journey is filled with self-growth, understanding, and fulfillment.